The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18-plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.
Hi, I'm retired NYPD Detective Vic Ferrari. And on tonight's episode of Confessions of a Retired Detective, a 22-year veteran of the NYPD is arrested for domestic violence. What happens next? Coming up in moments on Walter Sterling on the Other Side of Midnight.
Florida is a beautiful mix of diverse people and cultures. Florida Stories is about them getting arrested. I'm James Parker. Florida Stories, still to come on the Red Apple Audio Network.
The parking lot is where it's the most dangerous. Details later. The people of Walmart. Walter Sterling, The Other Side of Midnight, Red Apple Audio Network.
The Other Side of Midnight with Walter Sterling.
On the other side of midnight.
Do you realize that because of you, this city is being overrun by baboons?
Well, isn't that the fault of the voters?
What do you think about LGBT pride parades?
They're not pride parades anymore. It's a public celebration of mental illness and degeneracy. Grown men in thongs twerking in front of kids. That's not love, that's sick.
800-848-9222. Robert in St. Louis, listening on the legendary KMOX, programmed by Steve Moore. Every day, Steve goes, I put Walter on this station 10 years ago. He put me on KMOX 10 years ago, and never once has he thought that was a really good decision. Actually, no, Steve Moore is one of the smart program directors, and every opportunity he had to put this show on more, Steve Moore did that. Robert, welcome to the Other Side of Midnight. Hi.
Hey, how you doing? Good evening.
Okay.
I'd just like to share an experience with COVID, the vaccine. Just right off, my wife and I and my children never received a COVID shot or the vaccine. None of us have been sick or experienced the COVID. I mean, I reckon we're really lucky, or we just have great immune system. But one of the key factors in why I never really wanted it, or wanted my family to have it, my mother, Barbara, she was in her early 70s, and of course she had she was diabetic and a little overweight and stuff. But her doctor, she went in for a regular checkup, 10 a.m. in the morning. Her doctor, primary care doctor, expressed that she should receive the vaccine because of her age and health conditions, convinced her to take it. She was given the COVID shot that morning at 10 a.m. By 9 o'clock that evening, an ambulance had to be sent to her home. She couldn't breathe. Once she got to the hospital, they said, she's developed pneumonia. She has water on her lungs. She couldn't breathe. They put her on a ventilator. She was on a ventilator 1 week. Mind you, 1 week. That following Sunday, I went and had lunch with her at the hospital. I helped feed her and stuff, and just talked with her a little bit. And they had taken her off the ventilator that morning and said that she could breathe and she was getting better and she could go home. Well, she went home the next day. The next day, they found her dead in her bed. She died. For no reason.
Oh, there was a reason, Robert. There was a reason, and you know what the reason was, Robert.
Exactly. And the doctor, you know what the doctor said?
He said that wasn't it.
We can't say. He said the COVID shot had nothing to do with it. Now, that was pretty funny because she was pretty healthy when she went in there to take it. And that's my experience. And I tell you, it's shameful that they keep pushing this out there. And, yes, I'm emotional about it because I
you should be.
Mother.
And you should be, Robert. And I thank you very much for the call. Thank you for the call. Thanks for calling from KMOX. And you should be. And what's shocking and disgusting about this conversation is, why am I the only one having it? It seems the tide has passed. We're not going to talk about it anymore. I'm sorry. Long-term COVID is a real thing. Right now, there are millions of Americans who don't taste the way they used to, don't have a sense of time and place the way they used to. Long periods of our lives, our memories are wiped out because we can't quite fix when it was, what we were doing, where we were. This is a vast conspiracy to control you and me in ways we can't even consider. And what it did to my kids who were doing just fine in school, and suddenly they had to go on Zoom. If you're 9, you're not going to learn on Zoom. After you're there for 8 seconds, you're going to be gone. You're going to turn off the camera and go watch play Roblox. And that's what happened. Years and years of education were thrown away for no reason. There wasn't a statistic available that indicated that school-age children were more or less susceptible and could not be with other kids. And, oh, by the way, building up immunities. Joe in New Jersey, welcome to the other side of midnight at 800-848-9222. Hello, Joe.
Yes, I have never taken the COVID vaccine. I never take the flu vaccine. They have the vaccine for diabetes, and once you take that, they say, they got the shot for diabetes, and once you start taking it, they say you can't get off it. And I think the reason why is because your body forgets how to take care of itself.
Well, I think that, plus it's $200 a shot. Who gets that money?
Well, I get all my shots from VA, and they don't cost me. But I don't believe in vaccines and most of the stuff. Some of the older vaccines that were really vaccines, they're okay. But what they're calling vaccines now aren't even tested. They don't know what they do.
A lot of times that's true, and I appreciate the call, Joe. Thank you very much. Here's an amazing story that just broke. Robert Kiyosaki. Robert Kiyosaki has caused me tremendous amounts of pain over the past 25 years. The minute I had my first kid, I see this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I know about his lectures and how to be a good dad, how to raise children who are money conscious. You've heard about these books. These are huge best-selling books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Plus, he would give 3-day seminars, lectures, TED reports, TED, those pretentious TED speeches, TED Talks. And he wrote this hugely successful book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You ready? Here's the news about the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Once again, drawing attention online after reports claimed he owes $1.2 billion in debt. The discussion quickly spreads across social media, with many people debating whether the debt reflects financial trouble or part of his long-standing investment strategy involving leveraged assets and borrowing. $1.2 billion. Kiyosaki has openly discussed debt and investing for years, often arguing that wealthy investors use borrowed money differently than average consumers. Supporters say his comments about debt have always focused on using loans to acquire income-producing assets, while critics question the risks involved when such large numbers become public headlines. The renewed attention has brought fresh conversations about his financial literacy. Rich Dad, Poor Dad author, $1.2 billion in debt, apparently. I love my life. I used to feel so guilty about that book. I'm going to make my children financially literate. My parents were great parents, but not so good with the financial literacy. And then I went into the circus. I'm on the air. These are circus people I'm with. And that was not going to happen with my children until we needed to get student loans. Oh, my God. It's 16 minutes past the hour with Walter Sterling. Coming up in just 45 minutes, an update on the UFOs. On the 48 videos that were released by the United States government, an update from Dave Scott, a dreaded Canadian, Al in Westchester. Hi, Al. Welcome to the other side of midnight with Walter Sterling. Hi.
Hi, Walter. It's a pleasure and an honor.
An honor for me to speak to you, especially since you're in Westchester. Are you in a wealthy community?
Bronxville.
Nice.
It's okay. I mean, I was born and raised in the Bronx, and we moved up there. But
well, now listen, Al. I want you to tell your story, but first, I need to explain people who are west of you that the Bronx and Bronxville are very different things. It's like New York and East New York, or it's like Cleveland and East Cleveland. They're very different things, aren't they, Al? Admit it.
They are.
Thank you. Tell me your story, Al.
Well, in your monologue, you mentioned herd immunity, and you said, which is true. By the way, Dr. Fauci, yeah, he was a puppet of the administration at the time. But anyway, that's a different story. You mentioned herd immunity, and you said that you were insulted by just the mere fact of being called part of a herd, which are like sheep or horses or cows or whatever. And that's true. Now, I'm Hispanic, right? So I was born in the mid-'50s. And, of course, we were a minority at that time, right, because we were. But now, 70 years later, we are no longer a minority, and I resent the fact of our people being called a quote-unquote minority. What are your thoughts on that?
Do you miss Sabado Gigante?
Pardon?
Do you miss Sabado Gigante?
Sabado Gigante? Oh, Don Francisco?
Yes.
I do.
Do you remember what his real name was?
Oh, wow. I do not.
Well, he grew up in the Bronx until he was 8.
Right.
And then his family moved to South America. But he was born and raised in the Bronx. And his name, as I recall, was Murray Kretschmer.
Wow.
So Murray Kretschmer goes to South America, puts on Sabado Gigante. Would you pronounce it again? Because, of course, you pronounced it correctly, and I did not. Say that again.
Sabado Gigante.
It was a most fascinating television show I ever saw. And among the trivia of that show, which was 3 hours every Saturday night, Giant Saturday, he never repeated a show. He was on that show for 40 years. They never repeated a show. Every show was an original.
Right. Yeah. I miss it dearly. But what are your thoughts about our race, our Latin race being called minority?
No, it's nonsense. You're not a minority.
Anymore.
No, you're not a minority anymore. And what I did a lot of work with Radio Unica and Univision and Telemundo. I've done a lot of consulting work with them. And Joaquin Blaya was the most brilliant television programmer I ever knew. He brought all those characters to the United States. So I'm standing in the Univision in Miami parking lot with Joaquin Blaya, who's wearing a $4,000 suit and a $1,000 shirt. And I'm looking around this parking lot, Al, and it's Mercedes, Jaguar, Mercedes, Jaguar, Mercedes, all white, gleaming Miami white. It's a very special white for Miami. And I said to him, "Are all of you rich?" And he said, "Yes." The Other Side of Midnight, Red Apple Audio Networks.